Hello there, Redskins fans. You're back on the sty. We're here again, ready to rock. We have new free agent signings to discuss, potential draft targets, the Redskins GM search, changes around the league, and so much more. Let's get right to it. It's the Hog Sty. It's coming up next.
Welcome to the Hogsty with your crew, Adam Taraski, Alex Zeese, Sean Conti, and Steve Thomas. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hello there, everybody. Sean here. Glad to be back with you on a Sunday. Usually record on Saturday, but here we are on a Sunday. So change of pace for us here on the Hog Sty. I got Alex and Steve around the table with me. What's up, Steve?
You know, the Sunday thing's messing up my biorhythms a little bit. You know, it's a little odd that we're recording on Sunday, like you said. I'm used to plowing through this Friday night, preparing Saturday morning show. We're done. So it's a little change, and you guys know how I feel about change. It's not good.
Yeah. We
never change. Never change.
Never good.
Heel. It's your kryptonite is change, and I guess I should apologize.
Never
to you guys.
change.
The Sunday thing is on me. I had a last-minute Washington Valor
You had a
press
good reason
thing that I got to go to, and we'll talk about that. And you know,
That's right.
That's why we're not recording on
No,
Saturday.
I was going to
sorry
say
that but it's good for the bigger cause.
I'm just kind of glad we had sort of a
I was
quiet.
going to say, this is actually the...
I'm just kind of glad we had kind of a quiet Redskins week, though. I mean, we have time to do Valor stuff and other things. We didn't have a ton
It's
of
good and bad.
We didn't have a ton of awful happen. So from that respect, I'm happy. I'm willing to do Sunday, on some days.
Well, we had a little news. I mean, we did sign one guy, so we got a guy.
Yeah.
We got a guy.
Yeah, we got a guy. We got another guy. This is great. We're collecting guys over here. That's probably the biggest news from this past week. So maybe we should just kick it off talking about that. So obviously Alex is talking there about Mr. Brian Quick, wide receiver from St. Louis, continuing to make this receiver core much taller than it has been in years past. What are you guys thinking about this signing? This guy's been with the Rams for 5-some years, I believe.
Yeah, Brian Quick, 6'4", about 210. Went to Appalachian State, and for those of you who don't know, Appalachian State, I believe, is the D3 team or the D2 team that is always winning everything. Is it not? Am I wrong about that?
They're one of the better D2 teams that always beats a
Sounds right.
ranked Division I team every 3
didn't
years.
they meet? And isn't this the team that beat Michigan a few years ago? Appalachian State. Regardless. He was a second-round pick by the Rams in 2012. He has played in 67 games over the past 5 years, started 24. He has 105 receptions on a career for 1,499 yards, 10 touchdowns. He has averages about 14.3 receptions per catch. That is kind of Brian
yards per catch.
Quick in a nutshell. I'm sorry. Yeah, what did I say?
Receptions per catch.
I don't know. Yeah, I meant yards per.
Oh,
okay.
He bobbles it every time he
that
catches
would be
it.
1-to-1. No.
Actually, that
anyway,
is his issue,
Brian
Sean.
Quick is. Yeah. Brian Quick is not going to be a starter here, most likely. I mean, we're talking about, Terrell Pryor and Josh Jackson with Jameson Crowder in the slot. So I think we can expect Brian Quick to back up. Probably Pryor on the X would be my guess.
Well, here's what I've kind of looked at it as. I think this is bad news for Ryan Grant, which is great news for me, because you guys know how I feel about Ryan Grant. I think
We all feel that way about Ryan Grant.
I think this guy Quick is going to be a good 4th, 5th receiver option for us. Harris, everyone seems to be raving about Harris. By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like a lot of
it's because we don't have anyone else to rave about.
Heard rumblings.
Yeah. Well, but there's a lot of people saying he's got great hands. He's really improving every camp. So I think you're looking at a pretty tall, rounded-out wide receiver core with those two guys being the 4th and 5th guy now. And that might mean Ryan Grant is out.
Yeah.
Mr. Number 1 in practice, number 10 on the field or whatever. I think he might be looking at the end.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this. I mean, because you've got, who are our guys? Pryor,
Dotson, like you
Crowder,
said. Those are the three. Those are the big three.
Quick and Harris.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Grant. And then there's a couple guys on the practice squad, too. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on how much Grant is loved by the coaching staff. Because I'm going to just – we don't have Brian Quick's contract details yet, but I'm just going to assume that doesn't have a contract that we can't get out of if they want to cut
him. Right.
Well, Grant will probably end up on the practice squad, right?
No, he can't.
Steve, I was going to ask you.
Grant can't be on the practice squad.
Oh, he can now. He's not eligible for it.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I was going to ask you. Did you say 1,000 career yards for Quick?
I said 1,499 career yards on 105 receptions.
Wow. Why so low? And he's going into his 6th year.
Well, the reason is he's not been a consistent starter. That's why. I mean, he's played 67 games.
You said 24 games or something?
Yeah, he started one as senior year, one as rookie year, and he's moved up to – he started 8 games last year. And incidentally, I mean, Pro Football Reference has him listed last year as tight end / wide receiver, and he's a big guy. I think by now he's bigger than – from what I've read, he's a little bigger than 209 pounds, which is what I listed him at.
Right.
So it's possible maybe that the Redskins could experiment with seeing him – line up as a tight end, at times, or some other position like that. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. And you also have to look at. I don't want to focus too much on it, but the Rams. He was with the Rams the entire time. Look at who their quarterbacks were. I think that could answer your question pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, but I think it's a good depth signing nonetheless for us. I think it takes wide receiver off the board. Thank goodness in the first round. For good.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean,
I think this established that for sure. I think we can relax on that a little bit.
Take a wide receiver.
Well, and since Scott McLuhan's gone, I mean, I think they'll be more focused on team needs rather than just willy-nilly whoever you feel like drafting, which is a good, music to my ears. I think the takeaway from all these wide receiver signings is we've gone from a bunch of shrimps to a bunch of giants.
Yep.
If anybody out there hasn't realized this yet. I mean, we've got Pryor is bigger than 6'4". Pryor is really 6'5". So we've got 6'5", Dotson 6'2". Quick is 6'4". Maurice Harris is 6'3".
Yep.
So we've gotten really big.
Yep.
And I know we want to move on, but I do want to just say, because this is something that Alex and I were talking about the other day that I thought was kind of interesting. It seems like everyone's kind of saying all these tall receivers is going to make, the red zone scoring situation so much better because these guys are taller and they have longer wingspans, yada, yada, yada. But it's really not that simple, people. I mean, that's the one distinction that I would want to make in this is that it's really not that simple. You look at some of the best scoring teams or the most efficient scoring teams, they're not necessarily the tallest. Alex said this the other day, and I think it's really true. It comes down to really the preference and the way that your quarterback plays. And the only question that I would ask you guys is, do we know that taller receivers is going to be better for Kirk Cousins?
I think it is. I mean, I think one of the criticisms you hear about Kirk is, even though he's a accurate quarterback, he will just put the ball. He's accurate in the way that he puts the ball in places where only his guy will get it or nobody does. That's why his turnover percentage is low. So having guys with a bigger catch radius, I think, will help.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
that's fair. That's a fair point.
I don't know if we know that the fade is necessarily going to go better. Who knows?
Can't come up.
I think, as a general principle, when you're playing football, bigger is better, right? Particularly when we have guys who are bigger and have speed, like Pryor in particular does. And Doxson's not slow. And so, from that respect, yes. When you have a Santana Moss who's great and all that, okay, he can be short. But generally speaking, we want bigger, not smaller, So.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I threw out the other day that the Patriots are the shortest average team in the NFL, and the Vikings are the tallest. So it's not, it's never an easy correlation there between, size and scoring. But I completely hear what you're saying. When Kirk, kind of tries to throw a guy open, or he's not necessarily on target, this will bail him out in a big way. So
that's my thinking.
It's a great thing. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying. I think people have a knack for simplifying it out there. Anyways, Let's move on from there. So, like we've said, we continue to accumulate these offensive players here. Let's talk about, hopefully that means we're gearing towards defense here in the draft. Let's start talking about some of this draft stuff. We've got it coming up pretty fast here. Adam Taraski, our intrepid colleague, has been doing these write-ups of draft previews for position groups. So let's start talking about some of that. Maybe starting with linebackers there. Got some serious needs in terms of linebackers there. Hey, boys?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest name is Hassan Reddick. He was the first guy on Adam's list. You know what, Alex? He's a Temple guy.
Yeah.
Why don't I shut up and let you brag about your Temple guy?
Okay. I'll go ahead and do that. So Reddick is an interesting player. He was not expected to play linebacker or defensive end when he came to college. He was a cornerback. He's a big guy. He's 6'2", so he would have been a big corner. But they've had him keep on. Yeah, he walked on. Wow. They've had him bulk up every year. He eventually earned a single-digit number, which Temple does this thing where the team leaders, the toughest guys on the team, get single-digit numbers each year. So he's kind of got that tough guy mentality. And, it's an interesting mix of he's got a lot of speed because, again, he played corner first. But now he's bulked up about probably 30 pounds since then. And I think his last weigh-in was 235. So I don't see him as an edge rusher for us. And a lot of people see him still as an edge rusher for a lot of teams. I think for us, he'd have to play inside linebacker because 235 is still way too small to play defensive and outside linebacker in a 3-4.
I can say that Adam Taraski...
We'll play anybody at outside linebacker.
As we've proven, Adam Taraski is convinced that he can be a good inside linebacker and is convinced that that is where he will end up in the NFL.
I think so,
I mean,
too.
6'2", 235 is pretty decent size for an inside linebacker in a 4-3 scheme. Listen, I mean, the guy is athletic, obviously, because he played corner. He's strong. He can do it. This is the type of guy who can do a lot of things.
The thing that made him so good in college was he would get inside on a offensive tackle and get right to the quarterback. And I think he had, I want to say 8 sacks last year. I don't remember exactly, but he had a good number of sacks at that end linebacker spot.
I mean, if he ends up on the Redskins, this may be a Will Compton watch out kind of signing.
Yeah,
that would be the goal.
He could definitely be a week 1 starter for us at linebacker. But the only thing Will Compton has over a guy like that is Compton calls the defensive plays still. And that.
Well, the other thing that Will Compton has over him is that I think the Redskins coaches think a lot more about their current inside linebackers than the fans do.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, the fans have been calling for new inside linebackers for years, and the Redskins never seem to address it.
Yeah, long time.
No.
Yeah, so I think Compton and Foster both may be safer than the fans wish they were.
Right. But let's move on to a couple of these other names that Adam talked about. The next one he had on his list is Jared Davis, Florida, also 6'2", 238, so same frame for an inside linebacker. I don't watch a lot of SEC football. I don't know about you guys, but any thoughts on this guy?
No, not really. I mean, he's ACC means big time competition. So from that respect, it's good. What Adam says about him is he's got above average instincts. Not great, but above average. He's got good speed. He does. It sounds like he has better speed to play outside. Maybe more so than Reddick. He's an aggressive player, needs coaching. We're looking at him as being a mid-first, early second round type of pick to go after Reddick.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting because Adam had Reddick projected mid-first to late second. This is mid-first to early second, so I think technically Adam's saying there that Davis has a higher probability of going off the board first than Reddick does. Maybe he had ranked Reddick above Davis because Reddick has that versatility to him, though you got to wonder with McLuhan out how important that is to this team at this point.
Well, Adam for sure likes...
Both of them sound like pretty similar.
I can sure that Adam likes Reddick better than any other linebacker.
Right.
there's a reason that Reddick's first on the list. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, I was pretty much done. That's all I was really going to say. It sounds like they're pretty similar players there. So
the next one, Zach.
Let's talk about who else we got here.
Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt, 6'3", 235, common weight for a linebacker. He's another guy who's projected late first to late second round, so he's probably going to be a second rounder. More so than a first. Good athlete, good speed, probably better instincts than Davis has.
If he went to Vanderbilt, he's probably got something going on between the brain there. That's
probably a pretty smart guy, and so that would make you think whether he might be a good Mike linebacker, who can call the plays, because the Mike linebacker is the one that calls the plays.
Right.
What Adam says is he's another. A lot of these guys seem to have. Seem to be a good fit for this money backer position, and frankly, that's one thing we don't really need any more of, in my opinion.
No, we got
what we really need is, that, and DJ Swearinger could almost kind of play that maybe. I mean, if you really had to. What sticks out about Cunningham is, he might be the best weak side linebacker in the draft, according to Adam, and I trust Adam implicitly with this stuff. So that's kind of Cunningham's role. Late first, early second. Think of him as weak side linebacker.
Right.
Next one, Anthony Walker from Northwestern. So another guy that probably has a lot of gray matter operating in peak efficiency because he's at Northwestern. 6'1", 235, a little bit small. He's a mid second to mid third sort of prospect. High football IQ guy, great instincts. Sort of an old school, hard hitting type of linebacker. Adam thinks that despite his draft,
these days. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we do.
None of our linebackers are the hard hitter types.
Yeah, Adam thinks that
not since Keenan.
Well, yeah, and Keenan, we all saw what ultimately happened to Keenan.
Yeah,
he's now a Giant.
He got re-signed.
Yeah, he did. Looking back now, maybe we should have kept Keenan. I don't know.
I'm just saying. I like Keenan.
Adam thinks this guy is a future NFL starter, despite him being probably a third-round pick. So that's Anthony Walker.
Well, anyone who you're still getting in the third round, you're grooming for a year probably to be a starter. I mean, that's pretty normal, isn't it? Like, you don't draft someone in the third round thinking they're
that's
a
fair.
role player.
Unless you're the Redskins and you draft Kendall Fuller and Sua Cravens, neither of whom are going to ever start. But that's call me crazy.
Ooh, salty.
Well, I mean, am I wrong? And that was my problem last year when we talked about Sua. It's like, is he going to start? No, he's not ever going to start. Duke Riley.
I think this is Sua's year, man. This is Sua's year.
Maybe so. I'm
Continue.
sorry. Duke Riley from LSU is next on the list. He's undersized, 6'1", 218. So he's really the size of a corner. His draft projection is late third to late fourth round, so think of him as a fourth rounder. This guy's a money backer guy. That's too small to play inside linebacker.
Right. He's got more of that safety build. I did see just trolling Twitter this morning. Somebody was looking at him and pointing out how great he is on special teams coverage. So maybe if we were talking about he's in the fourth round, you could grab him just for that, because we could always use a lot of help on special teams. And we've never.
I don't know if I'd burn
that's true.
I mean, I don't know if I'd burn a fourth-round pick on a dedicated special teamer.
On a backup linebacker for that, like let's say he's your third linebacker and special teams starter.
Yeah, potentially. I would have ranked that a lot higher in years past than I would this year, but I'm not necessarily disagreeing. Potentially, yeah. I'm certainly not. Yeah, I mean, what is there really to say? He's obviously deserves the spot he's ranked at here on Adam's list. He's much
Especially
further down. There's certainly some nice things.
218 is just really small.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd have to bulk
probably
up.
not.
I mean,
Yeah,
DJ Swearinger is bigger than that. And he's going to be our safety. The last guy on the list that we have for you guys is Nick DeLuca from North Dakota State, 6'3", 245, so more prototypical inside linebacker size than maybe any of these guys. This is kind of our are a sleeper pick that nobody's heard of here. Projected late third to early fifth round. Obviously, the knock on him is he went to North Dakota State, right?
Right.
But he's a traditional old school
Don't knock North
linebacker.
Dakota State. They've had a really good team for their division. Like they've won a couple championships over the last few years.
Yeah, but he's not playing Michigan.
Oh, I know.
That's
I
the
understand
problem.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what
They're getting a
their
really
schedule
cool pipeline over there too, I hear.
is. Yeah, they are. They're getting the new
But not for
pipeline,
good
that's
players.
true. No, for oil.
Nice.
For oil. He did have a
Nice.
shoulder injury in 2016, so that's out there. He's one of these guys that has good tape. If
Yeah.
you watch the guys who know film, which is not Sean, Alex, and Steve, particularly the guys who watch tape see that this guy has good tape.
True.
So look for him as a potential sleeper pick.
All right.
So,
And that was everybody
there you go.
that Adam had listed. I guess why don't we just move right into our big poll? Since
poll.
that's the big thing that we're going to start doing with the draft coming up. We had this idea this year. We're going to basically do a mock draft with you guys out there, where we're going to give you 4 realistic options that should be there when we're able to pick. This isn't, hey, let's list the top 4 players and
Should be.
pick one. This is guys who might still be there when the Redskins are scheduled to pick at 17 in the first round. And we're going to go round by round each week for you guys. So, Steve, why don't you give us this week's stuff?
Aren't you excited?
All right. It is the official Hog Style Listener Mock Draft, round 1. So, the choices this week were Garen Conley, cornerback, Forrest Lamp, guard, Christian McCaffrey, running back, and the aforementioned Hassan Reddick, linebacker, who is one of Adam's favorites. So, the idea here is, who do you think, not who do you want necessarily, who do you think the Redskins should pick? Right? And so, to give everybody a little bit of a background on some of these guys, since we're talking about it,
Talk about Reddick.
Garen Conley, Garen Conley is Ohio State cornerback, 6 foot 195. He's sort of a mid first round type of guy, which fits right in with us. The idea here with Conley is we potentially need a number 2 corner, with Bashaud Breeden's status a little bit up in the air. So that's Conley. Forrest Lamp is Adam's favorite guard.
Yeah.
Western.
By the way, you guys know we always love the. We tend to go for guys who played O-line as our, breakdown guy. Everyone we know loves Lamp. They just love Lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the projection on Lamp is.
I've heard that a lot.
This guy is like a Pro Bowl level prospect. Multiple Pro Bowl level prospect.
He's another Brandon Scherf type guard, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Western Kentucky, 6'4", about 309 pounds. The number 1 guard off the board. Christian McCaffrey, a little bit of a controversial option, not because of him necessarily. Running back from Stanford, 5'11", 202. He blew everybody away at the combine.
Yeah.
Just had a ridiculous combine. The issue with McCaffrey is, can he be an every down back, or is he just a gadget back? What is he?
Right. Is he another
whereas
Danny Woodhead, or is he, LT?
Or so like a better version of Chris Thompson or something, And so that's Chris Thompson, and we already said Reddick. So
yeah,
those are the 4 options: Conley, Lamp, McCaffrey, Reddick. What do you guys think the public would have picked?
I think the public doesn't think we need a corner. We actually had a pretty good back and forth on who should be the 4 options, and I had put like a defensive lineman in there, and Adam really was strong on Conley. So I don't know why. I just don't think the people think that corner is a need for us. So I think that one's out. I can understand guard, running back, and linebacker. I'm going to say people went defense, though, so let's go with the linebacker.
So Hassan Reddick. Sean, what do you think?
And again, the question was framed as, who do you think the Redskins will pick or should pick?
The question was, who do you think the Redskins should draft?
Should pick. Okay. Then, yeah, I'm going to have to, unexcitingly, agree with Alex here. I think people are definitely going to go on the defense. I think if it's between a corner position and a linebacker, I think people are definitely going to go linebacker. I can't see a guard. Yeah, and I just can't see a running back or a corner. Yeah, so I'm going to go linebacker. I think that's what people said.
Back. I will say that.
That's also, by the way, my opinion.
I've been wanting us to draft him for like 2 years now. So
you were talking about him all last season, if I recall, off and on the show. Okay, well, you guys were both right. Hassan Reddick won the poll. I would have voted for Reddick, too, of these choices.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, we'd all agree with that pick.
Well, and the reason is, and by the way, the reason why Adam was adamant about Conley as opposed to the defensive lineman is he's adamant that the top defensive linemen are all going to be gone by 17, and that those who are left are really more lower first round, top of the second round guys. So he doesn't think that there's going to be a defensive lineman on the board at 17 that's the appropriate value.
And I can understand
that was the issue.
Perspective on that, by the way, like that does make sense to me, like logically speaking.
Yeah, well, I mean, the guy is the guy that everybody's hot on is McDowell. Remember,
right?
The defensive lineman, and the thing about McDowell is that he's people see him as inconsistent, and he had a terrible interview cycle at the combine. It just went awful, so he probably hurt his value.
People say he has a really bad attitude about everything, which he
probably hurt himself.
A lot of people.
But let me finish this poll thing real fast. Hassan Reddick, 61%. Christian McCaffrey came in second place at 24%. Forrest Lamp, 10%. And Garen Conley, the cornerback, 5%. So you guys are absolutely right. I don't think the Redskins fans see cornerback as a need particularly.
No.
I see it as a need. I think people are so frustrated with the defensive front seven that they were going to pick whatever name we threw out there as the defensive front seven guy was going to win this poll.
Right. That is why
it could have been.
I think you're right.
Out there,
but it's just like McDowell just isn't realistic at 17. That was our
and I understand
professional assessment at this.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'll say about this is that I wouldn't be too. Christian McCaffrey is a fun toy. I don't know if we should draft a running back considering our needs.
Yeah.
That having been said, I wouldn't cry if we need defense first, but if we drafted Forrest Lamp, I wouldn't cry about it because he would solidify our offensive line for a decade. We would be set on offensive line starters for a long time. So I wouldn't cry about that.
Trent Williams is finally hitting the big 3 number. So,
okay, but for the next, So anyway, Reddick is who I would pick too. So that was the poll this week.
Yep.
That's the first round of the Hogstye listener mock draft. Stay tuned for the second round, which will be out Thursday with an accompanying piece on our website
just
written by.
Now, just to put this out there to our listeners, we are going to kind of try and make sure that because we picked a linebacker in the first round, we're not going to have a linebacker listed in the second round. The
idea here is that the selection. The idea here is the selection has been made. Reddick is the pick. Knowing Reddick is the pick, who would we pick in round 2? That's the idea behind this.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
There we go.
We want you to put your GM hats on.
Good distinction.
Because, Lord knows.
And hopefully come put your GM hats on and come work for the Redskins because we need one. We need you.
Because Lord knows we don't have a GM now. So,
nope.
We might as well be you. This could be you, people.
Seriously. It's an open job, yeah. So maybe we should talk about that. GM search still coming up empty here, folks. Are you surprised? I think we talked about this before. We knew that it wasn't necessarily going to be an immediate hire to this position and filling this position, but we've heard some rumblings, we've heard some rumors about potential guys, and then reports come out about the offer that the team is putting out there, and it's not impressing people. So, what have you guys heard about this? Are you concerned at all that there's not been more movement on this front?
Well, I mean, the big thing this week was our old buddy Jasno, or Jason Lockenfor, as people who are not on the insider know him as. Jason Lockenfor had this article
by his actual name.
He has been, pounding some trees and found out that the Redskins have been talking to a couple front offices, trying to get interviews lined up with I guess they didn't really specify, but probably scouts, assistant GM type players, or not players, type guys. Trying to set up interviews with teams like Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Green Bay were the three he mentioned. Interesting that the Patriots
makes sense.
Front office was not contacted. You would think that if you're going to go with, great front offices, why not at least shake that bush too?
Well, that's because Bill Belichick.
Belichick is the front office.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Why.
I guess so. Maybe we should get his son or something. I don't know. But anyway, the team is apparently only offering a
DNA.
deal of $1.5 million a year for the GM, which sounds low to me, but I honestly don't know what most GMs get paid. Steve, you might know that somehow, but
no, actually, I don't know. Because that stuff isn't public knowledge, and my time with an NFL team, we did not talk about the salary that the GM was making.
Right.
What we can say is that what Alex is citing is Jason Lockhan-Ford put out an article called "Redskins Casting Wide Net and GM Search." That was out on March 23rd on CBS Sports, and in that article, Lockhan-Ford made a reference to 1.5 million being okay, but not, it's not going to blow you away. And it's a lot of money to all of us peons, but in the world of NFL execs, it's okay, not great. And listen, the takeaway to me with this GM search stuff is that now Lockhan-Ford, Rick Snyder talked about this with us last week and said, why in the hell would anybody take the Redskins GM job, basically?
Right.
And Lockhan-Ford is saying,
right.
That was the mentality.
Yeah, and Lockhan-Ford is sort of saying the same thing here. If you read between the tea leaves, so that's two guys that are in the know. Because I know a lot of you out there don't like Lockhan-Ford, but I respect him, and he's been right about a lot of things. He rubs people the wrong way, but he's been right about a lot of things with regard to the Redskins.
Right.
So it's two guys now that are telling us we're not going to get anybody good from the outside coming in to be the GM. Sean.
Yeah. So my question is, because I agree with Alex that I don't know what the average GM makes, but 1.5 million seems awful low in the ecosystem here of the NFL. This would seem to me, this is speculation, people, but I'm just saying this would seem to me like maybe it's so low, the salary is so low because all this stuff about Scott really just being a super scout really is true, and that's really all they want. It's entirely possible that the job they're offering folks is $1.5 million. You're going to be the guy that selects the incoming talent, but you're not going to be disciplining players. You're not going to be following up, resolving issues, which is the stuff that Scott McLuhan was trying to do that we heard Bruce Allen didn't like. You're not going to be doing any of this other stuff that you hear other GMs doing. You're just going to be this very isolated sort of role. That would kind of make sense for me. It would make sense for me for why they're offering so little money, and it would also make sense for me for why nobody's wanted the job.
Yeah.
Both those things kind of fit, and we've heard these rumblings in the past. So that's what I'm getting from all of this.
The nail on the head there.
It's not a really.
I'm right there with you. I think.
Yeah.
I think
you're
that
right.
they're.
Yeah.
I think they are serious in that they want to interview people, but I think that Bruce Allen might be a little out of touch in terms of what people are willing to accept financially, and two, what kind of role people are willing to accept. If they're going to be the GM, and that sword of Damocles is hanging over your head right away in this position.
Listen
why would
to
you
Alex
accept
with the sword of Damocles reference.
I know references of things.
He's got tricks up his sleeve.
I think you guys are basically right. I don't know if Bruce Allen is out of touch, or maybe he's exactly in touch and he knows exactly what he wants his role to be. And maybe he has no illusions about it. I'm not sure that this GM search is really all that serious, honestly. They might have contacted people, but I think, I know everybody, it's like, let's, fire Bruce Allen and burn him at the stake, and,
it's not going to happen. Get over it, people.
Poke needles in the voodoo doll of him. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Bruce Allen isn't going anywhere, at least not this anytime soon. And at the same time, I think we've proven that Bruce just isn't going to give up his GM role. Bruce is the GM. Right. I've said this before on the show. My first-hand experience with this stuff is that the president does not do what Bruce Allen does with regard to personnel. I don't want to get into it again, but it's his role is unusual, and the truth of the matter is, let's just call Bruce Allen the GM and get over it. He's the team president, and Bruce Allen, team president / GM. Right. That is what we have here, and what we really want to hire is someone who is the director of player personnel.
Right. Yeah.
That's basically what we have here.
But what do you think about that, though, Steve? I mean, do you think that is a good deal or a good setup?
No.
Especially if it's looking like good. Yeah, I mean, because it seems like good talent isn't going to want to come here as long as that's the arrangement. So I kind of agree with you guys that we have to accept Bruce Allen as the GM, but that means we also need to accept we're not going to get a really good GM talent in this town.
Well, also remember
that's what that means.
Team president is a full-time job. Mm-hmm. You know, if you are an NFL team president, you can fill your day from 9 to 5 with stuff to do. You know, it's not something that, like, he needs more in his life. This is either Bruce Allen or Dan Snyder wants this to happen. Right. You know, and I totally agree with you, Sean, when you say when we have this arrangement, this means top GM candidates, are not going to come here. They're just not, because they're not going to put up with that. They're going to stay away. Yeah, they want to have control over the personnel. Mm-hmm. You know, the team I was involved with, the GM was the guy. The GM did the football side. Period. That was it. You want to talk football?
You didn't really deal with the GM that much, though, because you weren't dealing with football.
No, never.
Right? Yeah,
never. I met him a couple times, and that was it. He was not in one single meeting that I was ever in, because it was football side, and I was on the business side.
Right.
That's just how it works. And so I think you're right.
That's how it should work.
It is how it should work. And I think anybody who's thinking that we're going to get some top level GM is, I think.
I'm willing to settle for a mid-level GM at this point.
Delusional.
If you can get me a guy who will at least get us 2-3 starters in a draft, I'll be thrilled. I
think we're going to hear in a week or two that Doug Williams is our GM. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I don't personally. I don't hate that, because I like Doug Williams a lot. Just as a person, I think he's a good guy. But
right.
I think that's kind of where.
That's really all that you can say about that, though. That's kind of all you can say about it, though, is we love Doug Williams and, like, he's a great, legendary Redskin, et cetera. That's kind of where it ends, though, when you're talking about him in the GM role. Yeah. That's kind of it. What else can you say?
We don't know what his track record is. We know he was behind the whole Anthony Lanier thing. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. So it's just not... There's no body of work.
And let's just be clear. That's just my guess. Nobody's told us that. We haven't heard anything.
No.
That's just the Steve guess. Mm-hmm. I just think it makes sense. I think
there some? I thought there were some rumblings about that. Don't sell yourself short. Weren't some people reporting that?
Well, they were reporting that he was a candidate. Confirmed? Yeah, right. That's true. But I just want to make it clear that mm-hmm. other than those reports, we don't have any knowledge of that particular thing. That's what I was trying to say.
There were some fanboyism type.
Yeah.
Articles saying that would be a great move for the team, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the wild card
based off like what you said.
The wild card to this is Eric Schaefer potentially being a candidate. Eric Schaefer is Mr. Salary Cap.
Terrible idea to me.
Well, he's a lawyer, okay? Yeah. He's a lawyer and he does the salary cap, and that's not really. If we already have one of those guys in mm-hmm. Bruce Allen, who's not a lawyer.
Yeah, we don't need two. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a lawyer, but he's a salary cap. We need a football guy. Right. As whatever, give him whatever title you want, but that guy needs to be a football guy mm-hmm. for sure. And so that's why I hate the Schaefer thing. I think we're going to hear in a couple weeks. We're going to go through the search, and we're going to hear some names. Mark Dominic from Tampa's one, mm-hmm. Mike Mayock, which is a fantasy. And then at the end of the day, we're going to hear.
And AJ Smith is still a name that you hear, but they say probably not, because he's getting. He'll be 68 this year. He's getting a little up there. Yeah.
Well, not only that, AJ Smith ruined the San Diego Chargers. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys remember this?
About that before the show.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one signing. He's the one that ruined the relationship between Norv Turner and the owner.
Right.
We don't want a guy like that coming in. We have enough controversy and bad blood already. We don't need to bring somebody else in that's good at that too.
Amen to that, man. Amen
to
that.
Help to look for a GM at the right time of the year to look for a GM, and not, now.
That'd be helpful. That'd be helpful. I'm going to give you that, Alex. That would be that would be nice. But when do we ever do things the way they should be done? Very rarely.
This is the team that hired a quarterbacks coach and ended up, before as the offensive coordinator before we had a head coach, and then ended up having to make that quarterback's coach the head coach.
Right.
So it's not like we've ever done things and I'm talking about the hero Jim Zorn.
We know who you're talking about. Zorn.
Yeah, it's not like this team has a history of doing things in the right order or the right way.
You know, there was that shitty show on Fox, Son of Zorn. I really wanted that to just be about Jim Zorn's son. You know,
I've never heard of that show. What? Sounds awesome, man. I love terrible TV.
It's great.
Oh man, Google image search that, folks. Yeah, that looks like an interesting show.
Us off
okay.
The rails.
Yeah. No, we're always off the rails. It's more the exception to the rule that we're on them. But that's a good reminder. Let's get back to it. So you, Alex, sent a list of some pretty. Actually, I'm pretty surprised to see some of this stuff in terms of the proposed rule changes for next year. Excuse me. Yeah, go ahead. You want to just start taking us through it? I'm particularly interested in this color rush situation because ours are atrocious. But go ahead and take us through the proposed changes here in the coming year.
Let's go back to the beginning. This week, all the teams meet together, and this is when they say, "Hey, here's some rules that we want to change." Most teams do not suggest anything.
Yeah, happens every year.
I think only 4 teams ever brought suggestions this year. The Redskins suggested like 20 things or something. They had a massive list. Everyone else, it's like the Eagles had 1 and 2 other teams had 1. But the Redskins brought a bunch of suggestions.
Oh, the Eagles had a great suggestion.
I like the Eagles suggestion too. We'll get to that. So Steve and I had to hunt down all these rule suggestions because we couldn't find just like one article that stated everything. So we might miss one along the way here. The first rule suggestion the Redskins made, and by the way, this is the full-time Bruce Allen job that we were talking about, you know, being team president, making up rules that he thinks should change. You know, that's a team president job, not a GM job, right?
Sure.
So
yes.
Sure.
All right, so rule 1, he suggests that if a kickoff goes through the uprights, rather than the ball getting out to the 25 like it does with the touchback, it goes back to the 20. Now, I like that idea. I don't know about you guys. I think
it's a little gimmicky.
I see that as a not. Yeah, it doesn't seem all that impactful. What do you see in that?
I think it gives you an extra 5 yards.
I think it's a gimmick.
It's gimmicky, but they've done so much to ruin kickoffs. I think this at least adds something back to it. So that's why I like it.
Well, they're not only ruining kickoffs, but actually they're contradicting themselves in regard to the pursuit of their own goal.
Right.
On kickoffs, because their goal on kickoffs is to eliminate the kickoff return, basically. Mm-hmm. Because they're afraid of getting sued, and with more injuries. And for those of you who don't understand this, that's why they're hurting kickoffs. And so the idea of some of their proposed changes in the way they're moving the ball back and forth, it's actually encouraging kickoffs.
Right.
If you're encouraging the ball to drop just short of the end zone. Mm-hmm. That's going to encourage more returns than more touchbacks, and what they really want are more touchbacks.
Right, and you guys know how much I love special teams in general, and how I hate how we're trying to phase out special teams in the NFL. So, like, to me, anything you can do to keep special teams relevant, I'm gonna lean being for it. Let's go to the next one now, Steve. You know the details of this one more. The cut down rule.
Okay. Yeah. What they want to do is what the Redskins have proposed is eliminating the mandatory cut down to 75 players. Mm-hmm. And so the gist of this in simplified form is the teams have a 90-man roster in the offseason.
Right. We
haven't got the Redskins are I think we're at 71 right now.
Something like
71
that,
or 72 with Brian Quick. Check our website. It's on our website. We'll fill out to 90. And so halfway through training camp in week 3, they have a cut down to 75, and then the very next week after game 4, they cut down to 53. And the Redskins' point is, why the heck are we doing the cut to 75? What's the point?
Right.
Let's have some more competition for another week.
It's a fair question.
It is. I fully support it. I don't get unless they're just trying, it's a big marketing thing, and here's the cut list, people, maybe it's that.
No, it's
I think
literally
it makes a lot of
just to
sense.
save a few $1,000s off of salary. That's what I've always heard. From
really, it's possible, but I mean, you're talking about training camp. Mm-hmm. So they understand that players aren't making in-season salaries. The way players get paid is they get a game check every week after the game. So, it's salary divided by 16, basically. They get like per diem, and it's a ridiculous reason to not to do this.
Well, and let's think about this even more logically. Week 4 of the preseason is all backups, right? That's what you want. You don't want to risk your starters' health. Why are we cutting down the rosters right before week 4? Then you're going to force a couple starters to play. They might get hurt. It's asinine. Why not just keep the 90-man roster?
It gives guys more of a chance to compete. Yeah. Maybe some guy's going to have a great, game 4.
Yeah.
I think it makes too much sense, so the NFL's not going to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's the general rule with a lot of these things. Another one that the Redskins had is the concussion rule. That one's pretty simple. If a player's on the concussion...
There's always a new one of those.
If a player's on the concussion protocol, the team can add an extra player to the roster until the player's cleared. I think that sums it up pretty easily. Again, great rule, makes perfect sense. I'm guaranteeing the NFL will probably say no.
Yeah, and it's not surprising that the Redskins have this because we've had, our star tight end have multiple concussions and been out multiple weeks.
Right.
So the Redskins have been affected by this.
Right.
This is another thing that makes too much sense for the NFL to do. You promote a guy from the practice squad, he gets a few more game checks. The Redskins get to fill out their roster.
Right.
It makes much sense, and it doesn't make the team sort of implicitly try to rush these guys back because they can replace them. So therefore, the NFL is going to shoot it down.
That is the big thing that makes so much sense about it to me. Really, is this encourages more safety. We know concussions are the biggest health risk long term. Take your time. If you need 2 weeks, it's fine. You don't feel obligated to rush a guy back as much. I like that. Let's go.
This is kind of like we're getting to. Well, real quick before you do, this is getting to MLB, the way the Major League Baseball manages injuries.
Right, the 7-day DL and all that.
Yeah, 15-day, 30-day, 60-day DL. And so when they put someone on DL, they can bring somebody up to the 25-man roster, and that's kind of where we're going with it.
And I think it's the right way to go.
Which again means the NFL is going to,
Yeah. All right, so this one's a weird one. Coaches, if they win all their challenges, right now you can get up to 3. The Redskins are saying you should be able to keep challenging until you lose a challenge. I think that's a little too weird for the NFL.
Actually, I disagree with that one myself.
A little too much.
Why do you disagree, Sean?
I think it takes some of that strategic... Yeah, because I think there is a strategic aspect. You have to think strategically about what you're going to challenge, and I think this eliminates that. If you can challenge sort of... I know. So clarify this rule suggestion change, I guess, because it's not completely filled out here. So until they lose a challenge, then they can't challenge anymore at all?
You know how
No.
Off the bat, and if you go 2-0, you get a third.
Yeah.
They're saying if you go 3-0,
but if you
if you go 4-0, you get a fifth, and so on and so forth. That's the idea.
I see.
Here's my
I mean, I don't. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sean.
Really, all that I was going to say about it, which is really just that I think there's a more you have to think more strategically about it when you only have the 3. I don't know. I don't see this being again as that impactful of a rule change.
Okay.
Not the bigger one on this list, but I think it makes it a little less strategic.
Well, I didn't mean to step on you, Sean. Sorry, but I totally disagree. I hate the refs. I don't like him in football. I don't like him in Major League Baseball. I don't like him in basketball.
Steve hates judges. He hates law enforcement in general.
He hates authority.
Judges are, sometimes the judges are, I could get rid of them too. But listen, if we could replace the refs with robots, I would. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, in baseball, they have experimented with replacing the ball and strike call with a robot. With an electron. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Anytime we can take these I think every call ought to be challenged. Every call a ref makes ought to be subject to challenge. Because right now you can't challenge every call. Mm-hmm. I think any word that comes out of a ref's mouth ought to be. The teams ought to be able to challenge it. And I think there ought to be unlimited challenges. Mm-hmm. I think there ought to be an unlimited amount of challenges. Because the refs.
You would have a 7-hour football game.
I don't care. Whatever it takes to get the calls right. and the NFL is never going to do it. And don't anybody misunderstand me, but I would wholeheartedly vote for the Redskins proposal. Yes, because I think anytime you can take the human element out of calls, I'm all for it.
I generally I agree with you in principle.
Give me a referee robot.
I think there might be a better way to go about doing it. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm with you in principle that I want the calls right. I'm sick of things getting called and then you look at a replay and it's obviously wrong and they just stick with it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
That's true, guys, but just there's so many disputable things. There's even still, even though the NFL has like a 400-page rule book or whatever, there's still a lot of judgment calls that need to get made. And challenging every play and being able to do that really would, I think, people would go ham on that. Coaches would go ham on that. They'd look for every opportunity to recover some lost yards, whatever it is. I think it would really slow an already slowed down game. Now, I agree in principle, like you're saying, Alex, there's nothing wrong with wanting more accurate calls, but I think logistically that would make for a very long game with a lot of referee discussion.
Well, here's the other thing. I don't think that the challenges should be evaluated by the refs on the field. I think that's dumb.
Yeah,
what really needs to happen is
an NHL system, by the way, where you have a central office that reviews everything on tape.
Well, Major League Baseball does that too.
Yeah.
If you notice when they challenge a Major League Baseball call, the guy gets on a phone and somebody in the New York office gives them the answer.
Yeah,
I think that needs to happen because I think I have no basis for saying this other than I just don't like refs. I think the refs are a little bit loath to overturn their own calls. And I think they get a little irritated when teams challenge them.
I think you're right about that.
And so when they look at a film, if they have any excuse to uphold the call, they're going to do it. That's just me because I don't like refs.
And I think that's more likely to pass than this idea that teams can have unlimited challenges. But I think that would be a good first step.
Yeah.
Let's move on here.
Yeah.
You mentioned this one in the beginning, the weirder uniform rule that the Redskins asked for. And that is that they want it so that teams can opt out of color rush uniforms on Thursday nights.
Yes.
On principle of being garish.
Get us out of this, please. Now, listeners at home, if you have not seen the Redskins Color Rush uniforms, put on some sunglasses and then pull it up on the computer and be prepared for the incredibly bright bumblebee yellow attack on your eyes that it will be. Not a very attractive uniform, I don't think. I'm not surprised at all that the Redskins might suggest this. Yeah, I hate it. Get us out of Color Rush, please.
Yeah. I think the idea that Color Rush originally was no one has to wear a white uniform at home because everyone has a color TV. Interesting concept, but the way Nike went about executing this, they totally botched it because they're Nike and they botch so much that they do. And every team looks like they're wearing a highlighter. It's absurd looking.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to ask this question. I don't know the answer to it, and I don't think you guys know either, so it's really more rhetorical than anything. Has the NFL sold one single Color Rush jersey to any fan anywhere?
Oh, yeah. They sell because people in their teens and 20s love that crap.
I hate it. I think everybody out there knows my take on this.
I can believe that.
I hate the Color Rush uniforms. They're god-awful. It's the worst thing that's happened to football since the invention of the face mask. I cannot stand it in any way, shape, or form.
The face mask?
I don't know. That's what came out.
Shit, man.
That's what came out of my mouth. Okay,
Dude,
that's what came out. No, but I hate the Color Rush uniforms. I wish they would. I wish we could tell you what. I'll say it like this. I wish we could take every Color Rush uniform that has been produced by Nike and put it. We'll go to like Montana or somewhere and create a large bonfire and burn them all at once. Just burn them all and be done with it.
Yeah,
that's what I think needs to happen with Color Rush.
I'm down.
I mean, I've always said, I obsess about uniforms, so I don't want to talk about it too much. I've always said that what they should have done for Thursday was a throwback Thursday thing. Every Thursday night game, teams wear something from their past, that kind of idea.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that more.
Or if you're the Houston Texans, you just wear your current uniform.
Or they could go like the Oilers. I don't care. And I know there's rules about why they don't, but something like that.
I would be more apt to go along with that than the Color Rush stuff. I just can't stand that whole idea. I hate it.
Yeah,
hate it.
It looks tacky.
Yeah.
By the way, not to harp on this too much, I actually called up 106.7 The Fan when they were talking about this, and they hung up on me after like 20 seconds because I kept on going.
He was like, "Okay, thanks,
stop
Alec.
it.
Yep,
Stop
gotcha, Alec.
What show did you call? What
Rick
show
and
did you
Danny.
call into?
Who else do you think I called? You think I'm going to call Chad
You know,
Dukes
the
about that
best
kind
show.
of crap or the sports?
Did
junkies?
Was Danny aware that it was Alex
No, he
Zeese
was
on the
out. He was
Hogstein?
out.
Because he knows us.
No,
oh, he was
out.
okay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think if
Danny
Danny
probably
was
would've
there,
let you
he
talk.
would know it was me, but that's a long shot. All right, last one, last suggestion also has to do with uniforms, and that is that the Eagles have a suggestion to get rid of the one helmet rule. For those who don't know, the rule that the NFL came up with a few years ago was they thought that it is safer for a team to use one helmet style the entire year, so one color helmet. Somehow this would prevent concussions. So a player tries to use the same helmet over the course of the season rather than, we're having a throwback game, so you have to wear a yellow helmet instead of a red helmet or something like that. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen good evidence that this actually would prevent concussions in any way. I could actually...
Yeah, I don't understand even the thought behind it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Understand it. I think that you could easily make an argument that if a helmet's used 5 times, it's probably less safe than a new helmet, which has not had 50 collisions at this point.
Right.
So I think this is a good suggestion by the Eagles, and it would allow teams to go back to what we liked when teams would wear throwbacks, and you could see like the Redskins, that leather helmet we had a few years ago, and stuff like that.
So you're advocating for the use of leather helmets on the field?
Well, you remember when we had the faux leather helmet? Come on.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the leather style. I think so. This whole rule about only being able to use one helmet during the year, that's only been a rule for like a year or two, right?
3 or 4 years
Because like you
now,
said, we
I
were...
think.
Is it 3 or 4? Okay, so it's been a rule for that long. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's still relatively recent. Seems like a silly rule in the first place. And yeah, this is why you see the same old Redskins helmet when the team goes out in their throwback uniforms or something else. They're wearing the same helmet. This
and
is the reason
other
why.
teams had to do that. And it looks
I agree with
really
you,
weird.
Alex.
Like the Eagles had their modern
This
helmet
strikes
with
me-
a Kelly
Yeah.
green jersey, I think, at one point.
This
just
strikes
weird.
me
Yeah.
as a CTE lawsuit prevention rule. All players must wear the approved helmet.
Sure.
You don't experiment with the helmets. During the year, it strikes me as something the NFL thinks is going to lower their liability. If you have your helmet, it's approved by us. You stick with it. You don't experiment. That's what it seems to me. Is it's an anti-lawsuit device.
But I would think anyone who would think about it for more than 10 seconds could also make the argument that I made, where if you're using the same helmets all year, like that helmet's getting worn down.
I don't know if that's the case, though. I don't know if I don't know if what you're saying is scientifically accurate. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I don't know.
I think it must be.
I don't know. I have no idea. I know there's a lot of technology that goes into helmets.
No,
that the public really isn't aware of.
Yeah, I mean, because of my weird obsessiveness about uniform stuff, I follow it. The amount of technology and upgrades that they've made to helmets in the last 3 years, 4 years is insane. Just if you look into that stuff, you could go down hours and hours of content of research that's been done into improving player safety, which is great, by the way. I'm all for that.
I know. Yeah. Absolutely. I think we all are. And I know we want to move on to our next topic, but I had one more question about the helmets. You still get to pick between, if you're a player in the NFL, there's a couple different kinds of helmets that you can choose from, right?
Yes.
It's 3 or 4 base models or something. So some people, you can even kind of pick and choose which technology
more than 3
you
or
want to
4.
use in your own.
Probably more like 15 or something like that. I don't know the total number, but if you really look into it, because Nike makes a bunch of different ones, Rydell makes a different ones, Under Armour makes different ones. Every major sports manufacturer makes probably 4 or 5 different helmet models. There's a lot out there.
It's Riddell, not Rydell.
And those are all...
Yeah.
It's Riddell, not Rydell.
Well,
sorry. I'll shut up now.
Yeah.
Grammar Nazi over here. Jeez. All right, yeah, sorry. No, not to ask that, but I've always kind of been curious because, you got the Eli Manning bobbleheads, and then you got the standard helmets, and then, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a million variations.
That has, the weird pentagon or hexagon shape on the top.
The one that always put
a
huge red mark on Peyton Manning's forehead.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, that's right. He always did have that like screwed
that
up
his
forehead. That's
helmet,
true.
or was that just because he's got a weird forehead to begin with? That's the question.
You're making an excellent question. That's an excellent. We need to do a deep dive on this one day
Yeah,
on the
let's do
Hogs
it.
Time.
Well, do you remember?
Get to the bottom.
Not to go off on another tangent, but there was a guy who played
But
for
yeah,
the
you're going
Raiders
to.
for years who had some weird head issue where his helmet would cause blood to trickle down the side of his head every game. He
Dear
had, like,
God.
some weird bone ridge thing
Yeah.
on his forehead, and so after he got hit, his skin would get cut, and so he'd have blood coming down his face. He was like a fullback.
That's
or
like the
something.
most Raiders thing
God, I didn't
ever.
actually.
Yeah,
That's like the most Raiders
Yeah,
thing
I
ever
can't-
invented.
yeah. There,
It's not a Raiders game if someone's not bleeding all over the field, for sure. For sure.
just a weird little thing that I remember.
that's crazy.
seeing
I didn't
years
know that.
ago. Creepy looking dude.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. I've seen that photo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
All right. Well, let's move from here to our to potentially. Honestly, we saved it for last. One of the cooler new things in the life of the Hogs here. So, Alex, you had an awesome opportunity this
Yep.
weekend with the Valor. Why don't you tell us about what you did,
A
man?
couple of things that are going on with the Valor. Obviously, next week is opening week for the new arena football team here. I've already got my season tickets, and I will be going with my wife and a couple friends, which I'm excited about. But because we are
Nice.
special and we are a real media outlet now, the Washington Valor
That's right.
invited us to participate in Media Day, which so what
Goddamn
Media
right.
Day is the team is out at this undisclosed location in Silver Spring. They're doing photo shoots for the jumbotron, that kind of stuff. So all the players are standing in front of like a green screen. They're doing all that kind of fun stuff. And while they're kind of in between things, they're all just hanging out, and they let the media come in. You can ask questions, talk to players, stuff like that. I got to go. I was able to get a couple
So
interviews.
awesome.
I was able to talk with the defensive MVP last year of the league, which is Tracy Belton. He's a local boy, just so you know. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to play a couple clips from the interviews that I did. And, we just want you guys to hear this. So let's start with Tracy Belton. How's that feel, though, coming home and you're going to get to play for your hometown?
Oh, it feels real good. I mean, first time, new arena, new team here. I mean, it feels good. It feels real good.
Mhm.
It's like family here, trying to just get everybody come to the game. Never see me play in person, but
Sure.
we watch it on TV. So I have a lot of family and friends at the game.
So that's Belton. He grew up probably, I don't know, less than 5 miles from where I live now. I'm in Benning Southeast. He grew up in Benning Northeast. So, that it's cool.
Seems like a nice guy.
Very soft-spoken guy. You would not think a guy who sounds like that
Yeah.
and is that nice and soft-spoken. He gets about 100 tackles a year as a defensive back. So he goes out and lays the lumber.
Yeah, so he's aggressive.
To say
Yeah.
the least.
Just listen to the quote.
Nice.
It sounded like he was a really down-to-earth guy who was excited about playing finally in his hometown.
Yeah,
and I can
he is.
respect that about him. I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, he and I had a nice chat after after we did the interview too. By the way, all the full interviews are up on our iTunes page on our website. So if you want to listen to the full things, you can definitely go there. Let's go to the next one though. Next was a interview with defensive end Everett Dawkins. Now Dawkins he actually played in the NFL for a little while, or he drifted around to a couple teams. But I really wanted to ask him about the differences between playing defense in the NFL versus in the Arena Football League. Let me ask you, just defense in the AFL, a little tougher. The rules are a little tighter on you guys
Most
than in the NFL.
Yeah, it
Can you
is.
for people who are DC's going to be new to the arena.
Right.
Can you go through some of those things that are going to be tough for people to adjust to, or
Right.
to just get an idea for the game?
Well, it's different from a standpoint of a defensive lineman. We can't do as many blitzes as they do on the outside, and it is kind of harder for us to get to the quarterback because they throw the ball 2-step drops, 3-step drops. It takes no time for them to get the ball.
Right. There's no 7-step drop.
No, it's none of those. So it's a quick game. It's a fast game, which really makes you as a defender have to key in on your cues or whatever it may be that you can get from the other player that you're going against. So it's definitely something that you have to focus on because how quick the game is. If you're not focused on what you're supposed to be, you won't make any plays or whatever it may be.
So there you go. Also, let me just say, very funny guy, very down to earth. That's one thing you kind of get a lot of sense of with these guys. You know, they're not making millions of dollars, so I think they're all very grounded in terms of, you know, being pro athletes.
Well, you know, the biggest thing that I got out of the Dawkins quote was that, one, he was honest about, you know, everybody. He said, "Listen, everybody wants to get back to the NFL here." You know, and which is very honest because you don't want to insult the guys by asking them, so you think you're getting an NFL shot? I mean, it's all about the Arena Football League, but he was honest and he said that. And the other thing I thought was from an X's and O's standpoint is he talked about how hard it is to rush the passer.
Yeah.
You know, it never really occurred to me because I'm sort of being new to the Arena Football as I am. I'm getting into it mainly because of Alex. It didn't occur to me that there's no 7-step drops in Arena Football League. And he said, you know, if your first move doesn't work, then you're pretty much that play's over for you.
Right.
I thought that was very insightful, and it taught me something about arena football.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That question was not planned out. It just kind of happened in the course of the conversation, and it really turned out to be one of the more insightful things he kind of revealed to me. Finally, I want to go to, of course, the head coach. And I didn't get to do one-on-one with him. He did a thing in front of a group of reporters. CSN was there, CBS was there, and little old me with my, MP3 recorder. The Post was there, yeah. But finally, let's. I asked the coach real quickly just about, what is he looking for that makes for a successful team each game.
What goals do you have on the offensive, defensive side? What stats do you look at to say, hey, we had a successful game each week?
I think, as we learn the game together, the arena game is different. And one of our goals is to teach how this arena game is played. For us, it's not about stats. It's about possessions. The arena game is different. It's there's no punting. There's a high-scoring game. So it really comes down to possessions. And our thing is, it's not a high score. It's a high scoring game, but it's not the stats. It doesn't matter. So for us, it's red zone efficiency. You have to be able to be very efficient in the red zone, and on offense and on defense, it's about stops. If we can generate 3 stops per game, we're normally going to win the game. So for us, it's about playing strong defense, getting a minimum 3 stops, and on offense, maximizing. If we have 10 possessions, we want to score 8 out of 10. So for us, it's all about how we manage those possessions.
All right, so, that was the full interview. You can definitely listen to that, like I said, on, I called it the Valor Cast. I need to find a better name for it, but for now we're calling it the Valor Cast.
Yep, and available there on thehawkstide.com, so make sure you're checking that out.
Yep. The takeaway from the coach, for me...
Right up on the front?
Yeah, the takeaway from the coach's comments was, again, something I didn't realize about arena football. You asked him about stats and said, we just heard the quote. I didn't realize that what he was really he said, if we can get 3 stops, we're probably going to win the game. And when he's talking about 3 defensive stops, to stop them from scoring touchdowns 3 times in the game, you're probably going to win.
Yep.
I didn't realize that it was that high scoring of that fast paced a game, and so I think that'd certainly be fun to watch. But that was another thing that taught me something about arena football today.
Yeah. I mean. And he says it on the offensive side too. You want to score 8 out of 10 plays or drives, and that's kind of what you're going to get. You're going to get probably 10 drives in a game, and that's not just arena. That's every league. So that's kind of the numbers you look at, and that's why it is a high scoring game. You'll have scores in the 50s and the 60s frequently. So my last thing about the arena football team. Sadly, Santana Moss was not there, but he is going to be the play-by-play color commentator now for the arena football team in D.C. on their video casts on their website. So that's cool.
Always good to
see. So you may very well come
something.
Across Mr. Moss in your travels there.
Nice.
That'd be awesome.
It's always good to see a Redskins legend, like Santana, have a greater presence in the Redskins in the
DC Media Market.
Washington D.C. Media Market.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Excited
excited
to see
for. You guys know how pumped up I've been for this whole thing, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's going to be great. I think it'll be great for DC because year-round football. Why hate it?
Oh, and for those of you who
awesome.
are not privy to our back office conversations about the Hogsty, it's not just a little bit from Alex. Alex truly loves arena football. It's a nonstop barrage from him because he's excited about it, and that's great.
Yeah. This is my passion project.
Well, nice. It's certainly moving along fast. So that was an awesome, exciting opportunity. Again, continue to check out on thehogsty.com. Alex will keep us updated on everything that's going on with the Valor. Such a sweet opportunity. And by the way, we've got new stuff coming out practically daily, or every other day almost recently, it seems, on the website. So check that out, thehogsty.com. If you haven't noticed already, it's continually being tweaked. It's come a huge way since where we started just 2 years ago now. It's just beautiful, and we're looking for you guys to come engage with us on the website. There are comment sections on almost every post, so come on over to thehogsty.com. Give us your thoughts there in the comments section, and we'll give you a shout-out on the show. Other than that, guys, anything you want to say to our beautiful fans before we leave them for this week?
We have new T-shirts.
Anything big coming up that I missed?
Alex designed some BPA
nice.
at Pawn T-shirts.
Yeah.
Which some of you out there know what that means.
Right.
So I know you want one of those T-shirts.
Yeah, don't tell them.
You don't want me to tell them, Sean?
No, don't tell them. The answer to what that means is written on the shirt. You got to buy it if you want to know what it means.
Shirt, but
no, I'm just saying that to get them to buy it, Alex. Come on. Where's your marketing savviness here, dude? No, I'm just kidding. But no, go ahead and tell them what it's about.
BPA Pawn
Pitch
is
the shirts.
an old
Let's do
thing
it.
that people who are on sports comment messaging boards use it pretty often. BPA used to always mean best player available. Position of need means is pawn, basically position of need. And so BPA at pawn is the combination of two of the best ideas people have for drafting, which is best player available at position of need. So now that I explained it, it sounds really nerdy, and it doesn't. And the shirt is.
It
way
sounds
cooler
like it's like
well,
a computer code or something. Sounds like a computer code.
Well, I think it's a great shirt to be selling now because this is the philosophy. I hope. Excuse me. We go into this coming draft with. So,
and I'm selling it as a shot glass.
Good way to end it there.
If you really want to have fun, get the shot glass version, and every time the Redskins draft a player, you can take a shot.
There you go. There you go. But stay safe, everybody, on draft night. We don't want to encourage too much debauchery here. But anyways, pick up your BPA at Pawn T-shirts at thehogsty.com. Keep checking back for new articles, new videos. We got another one coming out tonight, and obviously new podcast episodes. So we'll see y'all next time, folks. Take care. Cool.